Okay, this is lesson 13, and we're going to start from Umid Masnisin Betarti, so Braisanami Betarti. It goes like this. Basically, Abaya said that our Mishnah is talking about two cases. Although there was a machlekes between Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, and it looks like it's only one case, but it seems Abaya says that there's actually two cases, and but there was a proof the Gemara brought for it. Here, the Mishnah says, let's get a green color while we write. Okay, the Mishnah says, Nishbra Kadai, if the Kad breaks, and it gave two cases of what happened after that. Either someone slipped in the water, I can put over here, Huchlak B'mayim, or it was, or Laka B'charasis, Laka B'charasis, and Huchlak B'mayim, we said, was talking about while it's falling, and there was a machlekes if slipping is considered a pshi or not. Reb Meir holds chayev. Rabbi Yehuda says it depends, but basically pater, just for simplicity. And la'achar nefila, after it fell, that was talking about if mafker nezakav, if you make the pieces ownerless. Two totally separate issues. If niskal pesheya, or if mafker nezakav is chayev, those are two totally separate issues. In the same words that Reb Meir said, chayev, is referring to two separate cases. So the example that we gave was like if two boys asked a question. One boy says, is there recess today? And the other one said, is there, let's say, a store or whatever to buy things? So, and I answered yes to both of them. I answered two totally separate questions, but with one word, yes. So Reb Meir that says chayev was actually answering two separate discussions. Shas nefila, niskal peshay holds as chayev, and he also holds mafkin zakav as chayev. And Rabbi Yehuda would be doing the same. Okay, that's what we learned in the Mishnah, and that was Abaya's chiddush that was talking about two things. So the Gemara says, "Umidim masnisin betarti." Since our Mishnah is two cases, so Brisa nami betarti. The Brisa is also two cases. Okay, the Brisa. Let's go over here. The Brisa says, "Nishbara kadai." The kad breaks, and you didn't pick it up. Nafal gemali, if his camel fell, and he didn't pick it up. So Reb Meir said chayiv, and the Chachamim said pater medini adam chayiv medini shemayim. Okay, so it must be that these two nishbara kadi and nafal gemalai are also referring to shas nefila. If we make a little line over there, so it must be referring to shas nefila, and it must be also talking about lachar nefila. That's what the Gemara is trying to say. So the Gemara says bishlei makadai. It goes well. The case of the kad, mishkachasla, we can find it. In other words, it's you can say that the case is you can actually use both of them, both possibilities at the time of falling. The kad breaks, and it did damage at the time of falling, which we said from Tosfos that it doesn't mean only at the time of falling. It means also until he had an opportunity to pick it up. Or it's after it fell and he made it ownerless. And there was another machlekes if mafkin zakav is if you make ownerless your pieces if you're chayev. Reb Meir holds chayev, and Rabbi Yehuda holds pater, or the Chachamim hold pater. Ella, however, Gemalai, his camel, Bishleim lachan afila, it goes well, lachan afila. Mishkachasla, we find it. We find that the case would work out well. B'mafkir nivlasa, if he makes the carcass hefker, Ella b'shas nefila. But if it's at the time of falling, Hechi mishkachasla, Hechi, how can we find it? How can we find a case that this would fit with? Okay. Now, our issue is like this. We'll bring this. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, let's get that back, and we'll get that back. So our issue is that we want to have a machlekes about niskal pesheya in the brisa, and we want to have a machlekes about mafker nezakav. Now, niskal pesheya means that a person slipped, and there's a machlekes for Meir if slipping is negligence, and Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's a ninus. So fine. He's walking, he slips, his kad breaks. So it's a machlekes. Was he supposed to be more careful or not? Nafal gemalai, if his camel fell. So to say that there's a machlekes about if a camel is supposed to be more careful or not, That it's impossible to say. Obviously, you're responsible for damages of your money. That and your camel is your money. But to say that the camel was supposed to be more careful, that's impossible. You can't charge someone a camel was supposed to be more careful. Camel does whatever it does. You were supposed to be more careful to make sure that it doesn't do that. But you can't have a machlekes of niskal pesheya by a camel falling. So the Gemara says bishlam inishbra kadai finds you can have lachar nefila, obviously that things break. Shas nefila, it works out well. However, nafel gemalai, lachar nefila, you can imagine that you're responsible. If you made it your the carcass ownerless, you were Meir holds you're still responsible to remove it. It could cause a damage. Rabbi Yehuda holds no, it's ownerless, so you're not responsible. But you can't have a shas nefila by nafel gemali when the camel falls. Is it niskal pesheya or not? There's no way of making you chayiv for a camel. The camel wasn't careful. You have to be careful, not the camel. Okay. Obviously, we're going to try to blame the person. We'll see how. Amar Ravacha, so Ravacha says, "Kegoin da avra b'maya." You went along the water, derech sharasa denara, by the slope, and Rashi says that's where it floods sometimes. So it must be by the bank of the river, and which that's a little bit of a dangerous route, and so therefore you're guilty. So it's not that the animal was pesheya, it's you were pesheya, and therefore you're chayev. Say, hey chidami, what is the case? Idik adar kachrina, if there is another road, pesheyahu, then you're pesheya. Vid leka dar kachrina anasu. And if there's no other road, leka means there's not. Dar kachrina, another road, anasu, then you're an inus. And what the Gemara means to say in this is that how can you have a machlekes? If there's only one road, that's the second option. If there's only one road, then why should we say that you're a pesheya? Listen, you're going somewhere. There's only one road, so you took that road. You're not a pesheya. That was the only way to get there. Um, I know it's a dangerous road, but nevertheless, that's not considered a pesheya. You were being careful, and it slipped. However, if there is another road, so then you're automatically a pesheya. So in other words, how could Rabbi Yehuda hold pater? We still have a machlekes. Question is, how could Rabbi Yehuda hold pater? And if there's another road, you're a pesheya, you should be chayiv. And if there's no other road, how could Rabbi Meir hold chayiv? You're an inus. Okay, so ela mishkachasla, rather, we find it a totally different story. The askil, where the person tripped, baskila begamla, and the animal tripped on him. So that same machlekes that we had before. Pull this up again. The Gemara's final answer is that we had a machlekes of niskal pesheya. If a person trips, is he negligent or not? And we said, how does that apply to an animal? We said, actually, the person is tripping here, and we still have the same machlekes. We have a machlekes between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda, or Reb Meir and the Chachamim. Reb Meir holds that as negligent. And here, the case of the camel tripping by Shas Nefila is actually where the person tripped, which may be negligent, it's machlekes, but the animal trips on him. So if the animal trips on him, so then, according to Reb Meir, the whole story was a story of negligence. You weren't supposed to trip. You should have been more careful. The animal tripped on you. It's still your problem. If someone gets hurt now from that animal, so Reb Meir would hold that's negligence. You shouldn't have tripped, and the animal shouldn't have tripped on you. The whole story is negligent. But in other words, we put the blame back on the person by saying that the person tripped and the animal tripped on him. Okay, that's the Gemara that we learned in class.